Hey cartoon fanatics, this is RJ and welcome back to another Cartoon Corner. We are still discussing the 4-part special of Steven Universe Wanted that aired on Memorial Day. And last time we discussed the trial and all the craziness that went down with that. So, oh boy, we still got a lot more to cover. Today we're going to be talking about the episode Off Colors. We had a lot of speculation of exactly what off colors meant. And I suppose we got an answer. I mean, thinking back on it now, it's a fairly simple answer. We thought it actually had to do with they're literally off color, or the gems had a slightly different alterated color from the way normal gems were supposed to be. But really, all it meant is gems that don't belong in the hierarchical society that the diamonds have created. So, I don't know if I'm satisfied or just kind of like okay with that, because you know it's information. It's not really mind-boggling, plot-breaking information, but it's information. It, you know, fills out the lore, fills out the universe a bit more. So that there you go. We learned some more gem lingo. Yay us! So let's kick off right from where the trial ended, where Steven and Lars were falling down into a deep section of Homeworld. And they aren't exactly sure where they are when they first land, but when they start, they have these little robot things going after them, like these tiny hovering probes. And there was a bit of comedy in this, because Lars was like, hey, I saw in a movie if we stand really still, they won't notice us. But they noticed Steven's gem, and Lars is like, oh, that movie was about dinosaurs. So, very nice Jurassic Park reference there. So, yes, apparently that move only works on dinosaurs. Sorry, Lars. I guess it just doesn't work with the gems. Nice try, though. You tried. And I guess that's the biggest part of Off Colors. It's not so much the fact that we're on Homeworld or more details about Pink Diamond shattering or Rose Quartz or the other gems. This episode's really more centric on Lars and his character development, which was actually really fascinating. Because, I mean, the moment we realized Lars was stuck on the ship, we knew that there was going to be some things with Lars's development, because it's like, well, he's here. He can't just leave the same guy that he was when he got stuck. But I don't think any of us expected that he would even get stuck on that ship in the first place. But here we are. He got stuck. He's with Steven now. And they actually discovered all these different gems when hiding from the probe things. I don't remember what they're called, but basically they're sensors. They're supposed to scan for gems, and then when they scan for one that's off color or not the way they're supposed to be in society, I guess it's the probe's job to shatter that gem. So yeah, it's pretty much having little death guns, or death guns. That doesn't make sense. Guns are death. I'm sorry. I'm trying to review these episodes back to back, so I'm a little bit disconcerted right now. But you know what I mean. They're literally just death machines for these gems, which is pretty terrifying because they're everywhere. But in the midst of all the chaos, Steven and Lars come across a bunch of new gems that are quote-unquote off-color. Many of them are fusions. One of them looks like the regular gem was shattered, or the way the gem formed was awkward in some formation. I don't know, it kind of reminded me of a small part of the cluster when I saw what their gem looked like. And so these gems, these off-color gems, have been hiding in this ginormous kindergarten. Like, we thought we had seen a big kindergartens on Earth. This one is huge. Well, I guess that makes sense since this is the Homeworld kindergarten. So it has to be ginormous since it's creating all of these supposedly perfect gems. It's not like, oh, well, these gems are from Earth, like the famous this, so they just got Earth personalities. It's not their fault. That's just where they were raised up from the ground. But these gems, it's like there's no reason they should be faulty. So if they are faulty, that they have no place. So that's rough. But they find these other gems, and I'm not exactly sure on how to pronounce them. The names went by super quickly, but they all have some defects. The one that I mentioned that kind of looked like a tiny piece of the cluster was rutile, I believe. So they were kind of like Siamese twins, which was cool. They'd pretty much echo each other's thoughts. Like, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the right one would speak first and then the left one would echo it. And then you have Rodendrite or Rodenite. And she was basically this nervous wreck. I think she was a fusion. She looked like she was a fusion. She had a gem on her chest and on her belly button. So I'm pretty sure she was a fusion. We have the Sapphire recolor, whose name is Padparacha. Okay, I'll admit I did not look up what a Padparacha is. I should check that out later. But her issue is she's supposed to be able to see into the future like a sapphire, but instead she just sees events that have recently occurred. So the event will occur and then she'll just reinstate the facts. So that's an interesting feature. It does cause for some comedy because it's like she's saying and reacting to things that have already happened like 2 seconds ago. So that's got to be frustrating. She doesn't seem to mind though, so good for her. And then the giant strange caterpillar gem thing that we had seen in the leaked photos, her name is Fluorite. And this is interesting because from what I know of fluorite is pretty much it's something that is ground down and used in toothpaste. That's pretty much all I know about it. So that's what I was thinking when I was staring at this gem or gems, because she's actually a fusion of 6 gems, which we had never seen that before. I mean, we had seen Alexandrite with pearl and garnet and amethyst together, but we had never seen a 6-gem fusion. So I guess that's the definition of a polygamous relationship right there, is you have 6 gems always together and they're looking for number 7. I guess I don't know, I found that kind of amusing. And she's kind of like this slow elderly grandma figures. And apparently they'd been hiding around for eons, and then Steven and Lars came across. But of course, because the diamonds are looking for Steven, the probes come, and this is where we see Lars's character development. He goes up, he gets brave to a certain extent, and they realize that because Lars is fully human, the probes don't notice him because they're just looking for gems. So with that information, Lars takes it upon himself to defend everyone else, because he can do that being a human. The probes don't want him, they just want gems. And he said a line and Steven said this line and Lars kind of echoed it, which I think is a really great message for kids, which is it's okay to be afraid. And that's something, I don't know, that's something that's always hard to accept because no one likes being afraid. Lars described he's always afraid and he absolutely hates it because he doesn't want to be afraid all the time, he just is. But through this is sort of the arc of his character development, is he's realizing, yes, I'm afraid, but that's okay. It's warranted. I can be afraid, but it's what I do with that fear that makes me stronger. So Lars is afraid, but he still goes out and protects all the gems. And in the process, we finally get the truth about that leaked image way back ago. I think this was months ago when we had that leaked storyboard image of Steven clutching someone and crying, and we started speculating once we realized that Lars was going with Steven to Homeworld that it was probably him, and it did turn out to be him. He attacked one of the probes and it exploded and he smacked into the wall, and Steven couldn't feel his pulse, couldn't tell if he was breathing. So whether he was actually dead or not, I'm not actually sure. I'm pretty sure he was dead though, because Steven was crying. He was an absolute mess. It was pretty bad all around. The other gems there were realizing, oh my gosh, this human that protected us is now dead. And Steven cries on Lars. It's a very emotional moment. And then all of a sudden, Lars turns pink and comes back to life. And that's pretty much where this episode ends. So, gosh, this is crazy. I know there were some leaks around this before because the first 2 minutes of each episode got leaked, as tends to happen. I'm actually surprised that the full episodes didn't get leaked before this. That was really impressive because usually Cartoon Network just loosens up that leak gauge and it just explodes on everyone before the episodes actually air. So this time they really kept a tight lid on things and made sure no one could really watch it online until the actual episodes aired on television, which was good for them. I'm glad you guys finally figured it out. I was a bit frustrated with that though, because I don't have a television that gets Cartoon Network. But overall, good for them. I'm glad they did that. That means that Rebecca and her team are getting the views that they deserve. Even though they know there's a lot of fans out there, it's still important to, you know, go and actually watch it on television, because that's what the producers are looking at numbers-wise. But so basically, yeah, that's what we have at the moment. So what I was saying from those 2-minute leaks we had gotten is we did start speculating of, gee, Lars's colors look similar to Lion's. So is it possible that Lion was a rose quartz lion that had died, and then she brought it back to life? And that also speculates, well, does that mean Lars has the same, you know, powers that Lion has? We have yet to find out. I technically already know because I watched the whole thing, but I only wanted this episode to specifically cover off colors and specifically Lars's character development, because he was kind of a stagnant character. A lot of the background characters, the people on Beach City, were kind of very, not so much one-dimensional, but they didn't really have much of an arc. They did have their own problems that they worked through, but Lars was kind of one of them, where he never really seemed to work through his problems and his fears about social interactions and actually putting himself out there. So it was good to see that he really had to be broken down to a point in order to realize this. So if he ever does make it back to Earth, I think he'll do a lot better when interacting with people. I don't know if he'll actually make it back to Earth or not, but if he does, I think this was exactly what Lars's character needed, because he was the only one not really getting the growth that needed to be done. So I'm glad we saw that. I mean, there was a lot to process. This was still pretty good. I'd say still not as good as the trial, but maybe that's just because the trial was so chock full of information we had been dying to find out about. This was still pretty intense, but it didn't feel quite as crazy as the last one. But there we have it. It was good. This was all pretty good. As usual, the artwork's amazing. Loving it. Make sure to keep up the good work, Steven Universe team. I can't even imagine what it's like to form a story out of just storyboarding as a group. That's got to be tough. So props to you guys. That's pretty impressive. Anyway, if you liked this video, go ahead and put a thumbs up and press that like button. And don't forget to comment below about your personal theories. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you not? Why or why not? Let me know what else I should probably cover for future Cartoon Corners. There's a next one coming up for the last episode in the Steven Universe Wanted. I will see all of you cartoon fanatics later.